So we're sensitive to the fact that things can always go wrong with the introduction of a new product, and we are looking forward to some human factors testing that'll help expose those kinds of mistakes going in. But it's about as straightforward as any electronic product that has ever been introduced is. So we're working on it. We anticipate folks having issues, but we think we're taking the right steps to minimize those kinds of human errors.
Great. Well, that's a comforting thing as well, because heaven forbid something happens, and because each diagnosis sets off a chain of events, and I'm thinking as well. Speaking of that, and I know I'm coming across here as Dr. Headwind here, but I am also curious speaking of this. I'm coming at this as a potential patient, which I think any investor should also think about. We talked a bit before about privacy and especially the sensitivity of bio data. Now, I know there actually are a lot of opportunities for us to personalize our healthcare, and that is definitely the plan. And you see a lot of med tech firms, a lot of fintech firms in general. I think the potential to expand into telehealth is rampant, because they see an opportunity, and that's why I think it's great that this proprietary bit of IP is setting a standard in ways few others can. So how do you feel about the overall sense of how bio data is being harvested, and how does privacy factor into that? Do you think we'll need to be some type of legislation or other work that can keep up with the technology?
Yeah, those are great questions. It's really a tiered approach for us. As we look at introducing an early product, just getting out the minimum thing that people want to pay for and keeping it as simple as possible. We've got a product that goes into labs where those controls are already in place, where that responsibility is largely borne by the lab. We've also tailored the product to be maximally compliant with the least cost in terms of investor dollars, which means that right now we don't store or transmit the patient result, and that's by design. One of the wonderful things about it is looking towards the future and the value of that biodata that we're going to be producing, which can be sold to public health officials, researchers, and even the patients themselves. One of the advantages that we have is that our technology is powered by a PC. And that means that in the future, we can integrate with any variety of electronic health record systems that are currently in place, and taking the appropriate precautions with those.
I also was taken by when you were talking about your relationship to the military, both in terms of your experience and how this is going to be a particular revenue stream going forward. I mean, you've been pretty clear about how the retail aspect might look. And to what extent will this product be, why do you think the military has expressed such an interest in it, and how do you think their particular use of it will differ from a standard retail market?
Sure. So, I mean, we are very fortunate to have the best customer in the world in terms of the DoD. They put money on things that they think are going to help them before anybody else will. So even before coming to you folks with our hat in hand, seeking additional investment, military has already put $2.5 million into this technology just to get us where we are today. And if you look back historically at some of the most popular products in history, Folgers coffee, Hershey's chocolate, these were brands that were established in the minds and hearts of consumers because they were part of the kit that was supplied to soldiers during World War II. So the US military, in addition to making giant bets on radically new technology, and we've seen this in the past with computers and cell phones and GPS, in addition to leaning forward and really helping create those new technologies, the opportunity to scale throughout the military is unbelievable. They are a $700 billion a year organization, the DoD, that has all the same needs that ordinary people do. Soldiers need to be tested. troop medical readiness is important. Soldiers operating in dangerous environments need to be able to test for a variety of different, not only diseases, but also biological weapons. And the Air Force, we're so fortunate to benefit from this program because they've already funded us to do proof of concept, and they are standing in the wings ready to fund us to go to what they call strategic capability at scale, which is throughout the DoD and worldwide. And that's why they're making available the $15 million in matching funds, because they recognize the value of what we're doing, and they want to make it easier for retail investors to feel comfortable doing this, knowing that it's backed by the United States Air Force.
And that's, I mean, and that's a pretty solid market if you have military contracts, and the health of the military is a paramount criterion that people are going to keep track of. So I hear that coming. I wanted to ask too, if you could go a little deeper into the technology. I know because I saw that you use the spectrometer that analyzes your saliva and will have a comprehensive list. How did the technology come to be what it is? I guess I want to get into the whole the discovery part of it and the decision to create this particular thing. And on that same trajectory, where do you think this could go? Because if you're in the forefront now with this one particular set of proprietary IP, and one of the things you think to yourself is, we are in front, but how do we stay in front? So how could this thing potentially evolve to provide even more? So the two-part question is, how did the technology come to be, and where do you think the technology can go?
Sure. Well, I can answer both of those questions with one story, which is that in a previous career role, I was directing due diligence on medical device investments for what was at that time the largest medical device investment group in the southwestern U.S. And in the course of having to learn everything I possibly could about emerging technologies that were being submitted for funding to our company, I had to pull data from anywhere I could get it. And one of those places, one of the really reliable places, was from the National Academy of Science Press. So I would go and I would download, the National Academy would convene expert panels from all over the world on any given subject. And they would produce like a free 100-page PDF, downloadable packet of the proceedings and the conclusions of the experts. And one of those publications was about advances in chemical imaging. And they said that, not just for medical diagnostics, but for any kind of molecular analysis that's going to happen in the future, they actually predicted that this technology called Raman spectroscopy is going to surpass all the other analytical methods in terms of speed, cost, and quality of the data. It's been a technology that's been evolving for about 100 years since the fundamental principles were first discovered, but it's been increasingly enabled by new innovations, lasers, machine learning, thermoelectrically cooled sensors. And we're at a point with it now where it has transitioned from an ability to detect bulk substances to an ability to detect specific molecules, all the way down to the ability to detect viruses. And we're looking at this as a 100-year trajectory of this technology finally coming to fruition. We're looking forward to the next decade already, and we're working with the University of Arizona on an iteration of this technology that will be fully 4,000 times higher spectral resolution than current state of the art. And when we go to that level of precision, which is patented, and that patent is exclusively licensed to us, the richness of the biodata that will be produced will not only enable us to do what we're doing now, which is diagnose disease, but also produce tremendously accurate and specific molecular biodata about any given person that uses the machine. So we may only be telling them, yes, you do or do not have coronavirus, but with this next generation technology, we'll also have a record of just about every other thing that's in their biology, a snapshot of that at that time. And this is not only going to enable us to do more accurate disease diagnosis than anybody else in the world, but it's also going to advance the state of the art in medicine broadly, making this information available to researchers. And it's so exciting because beyond that point, we honestly don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what discoveries are going to be made, but we know we're going to have a huge impact on patient lives, and we're planning for it and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this as a parent as well. I have a couple of teenage boys, and they're just figuring out what adulthood is about to become for them, and how, you know, I don't like to think about is how different my life as an 18-year-old was than theirs. When you talk about the next generation in terms of how this comes across as kind of a watershed moment as far as how accessible telehealth could be. Obviously, the next step is to make it portable and actually make it connect to your smartphone. You know, you see the insulin detectors already in place for diabetes patients. How do you think our kids are going to receive medical care 20 years from now, when it's their turn to look at their bodies and think, oh, wait, now I got to think about colonoscopies and other preventative care down the road?
You know, I think that the best way to summarize that is that right now we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. We wait until we get really sick, and then we receive medical attention at that time. And flipping that paradigm on its head is not only going to help us live happier, healthier, longer lives, but it's also going to do tremendous things to reduce the national debt, because healthcare spending is one of the largest components of federal debt, and it's also the number one reason that people go bankrupt in America today. So what's going to happen, I think, for our kids and our grandkids is that they're going to be connected to smart devices that are making predictions and assessments about their health 24/7, 365. So they're going to be given forward-looking guidance about what to do to maximize their health. And they're going to be notified that there are potential problems before they arise. And I think the first step is giving them access to their own accurate diagnosis on their own schedule, let's say at a pharmacy. And you've accurately sort of predicted the next step, which is, you know, a few more years out after that, which is integrating this technology into their smart devices so that they can access it moment to moment anytime they need. And the fundamental technology necessary to do that kind of miniaturization exists today. Researchers at Caltech, Harvard, and the University of Massachusetts have successfully demonstrated microchip-based spectrometers that are theoretically capable of doing what we're doing today on a tabletop device. So we are very much looking forward to enabling that future. It is possible. It is coming. The hard part is predicting exactly when it'll be here and how much it'll cost, but we're working on it.
Yes, it sounds like, I mean, the age-old question, especially, I mean, in most things, there's so much more ounce of prevention, pound of cure conundrums. And it sounds like any kind of prophylactic way to diagnose something early on. It sounds like now, and if you're diagnosed with something you didn't know you had in a very early stage, it's often, you know, based on luck, because you were in there looking at something else and someone said, oh, by the way, we should check into this. We've all been there or know somebody who's been there. Anyway, we are nearing a quarter after the hour now. So unless we have any more questions from the gathering, I'm going to wind this up and say thank you once again to these three reps from Botanisol, Dave, Zach, Dan. I really appreciate your time today, and really wish you the best of luck with this product. I think it's a revolutionary thing, and it's got a lot of legs, and it's got a lot of accreditation and trajectory, and I wish you all the best with it.
Thanks so much, Doug. Thanks everybody for attending, and please don't be bashful. If you have questions or you'd like to schedule a follow-up call with us, we're happy to do that anytime.